Great rises, YouTube. Great rises, Facebook. There's been so many things that held us down. And now it looks like things are finally coming around. I know we got a long, long way to go. And where we'll end up, I don't know. But we must not let anything hold us back. We gotta get ourselves together. We gotta polish up our act, yeah. And if you ever been held down before, I know you refuse to be held down anymore. Hey, great rises, everybody. Juneteenth, y'all. Juneteenth, Juneteenth, Juneteenth. Boy, do I have a story for y'all. It's the type of story that can only be told during Kwanzaa and Juneteenth. It can't be told. Community's cameras again. You don't know how it is. I'm gonna get it right. Okay. Okay. It's a story that can only be told during Kwanzaa and Juneteenth celebration because it is so unbelievable. I don't tell it to a lot of people because the few people I told it to, they look at me like, they don't believe it because we run from ghosts, but in shows and stuff like that, I remember when Bill Cosby became Ghost Dad. That was the first ghost thing I've seen with African Americans. They didn't put us as ghosts. We was always the one whose eyes used to bug out our heads, and then our feet used to scramble like a Scooby-Doo, and then we'd run. But we weren't the ghost. So, we didn't have too many ghost stories. And when it was happening, it didn't seem like a ghost story to me. It didn't seem like a ghost. But when you look back on it, it's weird. Okay. So this is back in the early 2000s. Could have been 2000. I moved to Mount Vernon in 1999. And I joined the task force, Mount Vernon Task Force. So we can, instantly when I moved there, I knew what neighborhood I was moving in. I knew the whole shebang. And they had a task force. So I instantly went to join that just to see what's going on in the community. I moved there, what we can do to make it better, etc., etc. So I meet this woman named Irma at the meeting. She's deceased now. Dear sweet Irma. And she was a realtor. She was going to the task force because she found out that a lot of people in Mount Vernon were getting bank loans to buy houses who really weren't qualified. Grand Rising, Kevin, Grand Rising, y'all. Is that our resident illustrator? Yo, yes it is. It's book time, y'all. Remember, I'm telling you this story. You guys got ghost stories. Even a story like this can be made into a children's book. And you got a children's book inside you. So, she's in the room with me, walking now. Say hey, give her a hey. That's something for Kwanzaa. And next Juneteenth. How about reading stuff that you did to your family? Anyway, let me go on. So, Irma was upset. That's why she was coming to the task force meeting, the Mount Vernon task force meeting, because she wanted to know why was all these people who could not afford these loans getting these loans to buy these houses in Mount Vernon. She basically said black people couldn't get the loans. But if you came from out of town, you come to this country, you got good credit. You born in this country, come see, come saw. So, Irma was hot. She wanted to go down, and she wanted to report the situation to HUD. 26 Federal Plaza, New York City. So I was between jobs because I was living and working in Connecticut and it got really too hard. So I was in the process of looking for something in Westchester. So I go down there with Irma, and the first worst thing that happened is Irma always liked to take out her top teeth when she was chewing. So we couldn't get in for an appointment. So we went over to McDonald's. I was like, I'm hungry, let's grab something to eat. So Irma goes to eat. She takes the teeth out. She puts it in a tissue. We eat, leave McDonald's. She realized she doesn't have her teeth. So we go back in. Oh, we have 5 minutes already. I better speed up this story. This one's going to be over in no time. So we go back inside. We dig through the garbage. Thank God they didn't dump it. We find her teeth. And I almost vomited when she popped them back in her mouth. I was like, oh God. But we didn't get to see the people that we were spoken to. But I was like, Irma, you couldn't wait. We went inside and you could have rinsed them out in the bathroom. But we was right at McDonald's. But that's another story. So we get in there and we see the people. And I could just tell he was laughing at Irma. Because she wasn't a drug. She was from Louisiana. So she had that slow southern drawl when she spoke. And she was speaking to New York people, and they were like, get to the point, get to the point, get to the point. So anyway, we left disappointed, and we're coming out the building, but we don't know where we went to the offices, because, you know, we were in the building, we took the elevator up, but when we got off on the floor where the office was, we just went all over the place. So now we're trying to find our way out. So we're going all over the place, and finally I see a door with the rotating doors. And I said, Irma, here, let's just get out of the building. Let's just get out of here, honey. Oh, 26 Federal Plaza? Please. Anywho. We come out, and right in front of me is a big sign that says African Burial Ground. So I said, African Burial Ground? So Irma's like, oh, I'm just so upset. Let's go to the train. And I was like, no, now I'm like drawn like a magnet to that sign, African Burial Ground. And I remember, it came back to me, I was like, oh man, I remember when they found that. I remember when Al Sharpton, Mayor Dinkins, and Murdoch, I think it was, and a few more. Oh, Byron, I think his name's city councilman out of Brooklyn. I remember, and here I am, I'm standing right in front of it, so I'm in awe. I'm like, whoa. I remember reading how the majority of the bones that they had to make a big fuss, so they stopped excavating. Here's the sad part about it. That whole area, miles and miles around that area, was burial ground. But they just stopped, and now there's courthouses, federal courthouses, state courthouses, city courthouses. I mean, immigration, blah, 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 in this area. And it's basically built on top of the African burial ground. No one caught it before. It just happens that it got caught this time. Like someone was like, wow, that's a bone. Stop. And somebody said, no, there's bones all over this place. And they looked up and they were like, this was all the African burial ground. So they were just taking, slaves, just crunch it up, and put it with the cement. But then they got stopped. So I'm reading it, right? And I'm like, wow. Okay, so I read all about the information, and they said the majority of the bones that were there was from children, and like I told you yesterday, a lot of them died from their skulls being pushed into their spines for carrying heavy things on top of their heads, because the Dutch were among the cruelest when it came to dealing with other human beings. Cruelty. Whew. Whew. Yes, the blonde hair, blue eyes, honey. That's the perfect race, how cruel you can be. Whew. Anyway, let me not get off the story, because this walk is so short. It's almost 10 minutes. And okay. Okay. So I was like, wow. So me and Irma, we go home. I don't think about it too much until Juneteenth comes up. Now usually, I just put a little something on the altar, put a little food down. That's what I would do when I lived in Connecticut. When I came to Mount Vernon, we had insects and the likes, so I couldn't make my altar because we was fighting an infestation, and I lived in the basement, so you know what I'm talking about. So I was really feeling a little bummed, and then something said, well, why don't you go down and make a big spread and take it down to the African burial ground? I was like, oh, yes. I started cooking. I had fried chicken, macaroni and cheese, rice, pork chops, some smothered in gravy, sweet potato pie, pound cake, collard greens, and chitlins. And I took them and I put it in a shopping cart. And I went down to the African burial ground. I bought placemats, like a tablecloth. So and I bought candles and everything. So I laid everything out, and I had a sign. Can't remember what the sign says now. I remember, to our ancestors, Juneteenth, you didn't live to see freedom, but so now I'm over there on the side. I'm not out on the sidewalk where I am, like obstructing people from walking, because that was a weekday in New York City. And people would walk by and they would be like, okay, so where's your dish so I can donate? And I was like, there's no dish. So everyone wants to know why I do it. Why am I doing it? I said, because it's Juneteenth. And it's a celebration. And I just want to let them know. So someone says, I said, I wish I could go inside and pour libation. I said, but I can't, because it was all gated off. And it was just like a hole, because they had dug up everything and they stopped construction and stuff. And there was a little, I think there was a little spot where you could walk into, I think. Anyway, everybody kept coming by. And they're talking to me, and I'm telling them, they said, well, if you're going to pour libations, you need to be inside the gate. And I said, look, if I can pour it right here on the other side of the gate. I just want to give my props and let them know Juneteenth celebration. We are all free. Thank you. We love you. That's it. For my little libation. Help the race. Help us get ourselves together. That's all. So they started making a big fuss. They go into the museum, because by then they had taken a space that was supposed to be already built on the top of the graveyards, and the bones already crushed into the cement. The building that was supposed to be part of this other building that they were digging the building. Anyway, they go in there and they get the security guard, who's the African American man. So they said, open that gate. Oh, no, she wants to pour libation. They scared that man so bad. He opened the gate. So they get mean. Come on. Go in there. Go in there. You want to pour libation? You go in there and you pour libation. And I'm like, holy crap, they going to put us in jail. And she's like, no. So I go in there and we all gathered around and I pour libation and give thanks and let them know it's a celebration. We're free. The last of us, the last state, Texas, was aware that they were no longer enslaved. We're free. So I do that and I'm like, okay, because I did bring down iced tea, lemonade, and water. Okay. So, continues. So I poured my libation stuff and I'm getting out. And they're like, no, move the food in. I'm like, move the food in? What? You're going to get me arrested. Oh my God. Somehow this crowd had came from nowhere. It was just me. Just me lighting the candles, keeping the candles going. Wishing it good on the race. Let's celebrate. I think I had my gospel music there. I was singing. A real nice time. And people would just stop by and say hi or whatever. And they kept saying, well, where's the offering thing? And I was like, the offering is the food I'm giving. I don't understand what you're talking about. Oh. The first half of this walk has been brought to you by I Like to Say Yes. Keep the word yes in your vocabulary by reading I Like to Say Yes to your child. I Like to Say Yes has brightly colored pages and rolling gestures and running, jumping, and playing. And today was supposed to be Miss Vicky talking to us, but in light of Kwanzaa, I will just really tell this story, about the African burial ground in New York. Okay? Oh, Saturday we made it through the whole week. And this is the third week in June. So, I could have drunk some water, but I know this is the last Saturday we walking. So, I'm on the outside of the gate. They picking up food because I had it in nice dishes because we were celebrating. So I put, I brought it down in Tupperware, but then I put them in nice dishes, just like if they were alive and we were all going to sit down and eat. So, then another guard came and said, what are you doing in there? Get out, get out, get out, get on the other side of the gate, get that stuff out of here. So I told him, no. They said, don't dump the food in here, we got rats. I know about rats. I was like, I wasn't going to dump the food in there. That was not going to happen. So, we brought all the food back out. We put it back on the street. They closed up the gate, and I'm on the side. So, I stayed there for the whole day, lighting the candles. Just celebrating Juneteenth at the African burial ground. Hoping that they would hear it. When I put libation, I was like, I hope you hear it and return to the place where you were buried. Plus, sorry that it happened to you. I wasn't even here. The cruelty of those people, I can't explain. I don't know. Okay, so everything, along the way, I meet someone who had a public access channel, and he asked me if he could interview me, because by then I had written my book, Tell the Truth, Shame the Devil, if you want an African American theme park. So I got an interview. It was public access, but it was New York City, so I was happy. So when everything was done, I wrapped everything up, took out my nice dishware and my plastic and stuff, and wrapped the food up and threw it in the bin. Then me and my shopping cart and stuff, we came back home. And I thought that was it. Then I come across, and when I say come across, that's exactly what it is, and that's how weird this story is. I just came across it, that they wanted to put the African remains from the African burial ground in New York City. They wanted a date of internment. Charles Barron from City Council of Brooklyn, New York, and these two old ladies who call themselves the African Burial Ground like committee, and they wanted to do it on Marcus Garvey's birthday. And man, oh man, I kid you not, I did not have a moment's rest until I wrote a 5-page, because I just finished studying also because of the theme park, this book called The African American Experience. I don't know if you still get it. I still have it. It's about this thick. It basically has everything from around the world, everything. I dove in that book, listen, like Mark Spitz or this guy here recently, honey. I was all in that book. So I had reason to feel that while Garvey was up here marching around in the South and in the Midwest, they were shooting and hanging us to get us to come to New York to get on the boat. While Garvey and his people was in New York, screaming, "Go back to Africa!" They're back to Africa movement, and they got their boats that a lot of racist organizations helped them buy. And in the African American community, there's a thing that Marcus Garvey boat got a boat got holes in it. Ralph Abernathy was not Abernathy. We have activists in, very put out, and they never know. To this day, they don't know. They connected all the lynchings and hangings, and Garvey walking around talking about back to Africa. They never connected the two, but they are connected. Fear tactics to get you on the boat, to get you out of the country. A country that your ancestors put their blood in. So they would say, yeah, but back to Africa, back to Africa. Get out of here. So they was burning up stuff in Lane, Arkansas. Look at the dates. Look at the dates. Rosewood, rioting and burning us. Tulsa, look at the dates. Get on the boat. Get to the Back to Africa movement. But Garvey didn't see that. All they did was march around New York and say horrible things about us, not knowing because of you guys, hundreds are dying. But you never connected the dots. So they wore me out, honey. So I had to find out who was behind this putting the African remains back in the ground on Marcus Garvey's birthday. I wrote like that 12-page thing, certified, registered, send it out, call him and said, no, find a date, what they said, Marcus Garvey's birthday or his, they want to, no. The ancestor has spoken, find another date. So I sent it to him and he read through that and he was like, wow. I was like, yeah. While y'all was up here in New York marching around, they was down there killing, tarring, feathering, burning them, scaring them, burning up their house, taking their land to get them to run up to New York to jump on a boat and go back to Africa. So, that was squashed. They went with another date. So now I'm like, whew, I don't know where that came from, but okay, fine. So now that I reached out to Baron and the two old ladies, they reaching out to me about how Howard University is holding the bones hostage. I'm like, holding the bones hostage? What are you talking about? Well, you have to talk to Dr. Wilson from the African Burial Ground. She's the archaeologist. I'm like, oh. And then I got told off too. Was that when I got, no, I didn't get told off then. I'll tell you when I got told off by the old lady who taught me the difference between slavery and enslavement. But she didn't do it so nicely. She told me. That's a little heavy story. So, I get off the phone and I'm like, I'm not doing this. I'm nobody. I am literally nobody. You got the Oprah, the Winfrey, you got the Denzel, you got these people in power, you got all these powerful, you got Maxine Water. I'm like, what do you want with me? So, I called Dr. Wilson. And she said, yes, they are. Because GSA is supposed to pay them some General Services Administration, a federal agency, is supposed to give them money. And New York, historical something is supposed to give money. And because the bones were sent to Howard University to do research and find it, but then, so, like, this is like a year goes by, so I find out. So finally, nothing is being done. So I'm saying I have to beef it up. So, I called the old lady with the African Burial Ground, the two old ladies that was with the city council, who out of Brooklyn. And I told her, you know, why is this that? Why aren't they paying? Why can't you make the paying on them? So then they started saying to me, oh, even I had to call Mr. Green from the General Services Administration, 26 Federal Plaza, well, it was all politics. Oh God, it was horrible. And I was like, why aren't you paying? Get the bones back. What is it? Well, they didn't do so and so, and Dr. Wilson did so and so, and I'm calling them out. And then they had this thing, which is called a memorandum. Now, this stick that's between the General Administration Association, the Historical Society of New York City, and the Historical Society of the United States of America, Society Preservation of America, and somebody else. It was that thick. I had to read it, highlight it, tag the pages. Oh, just to go and fight them. And I was saying to myself, I can't believe you gave this to me to do. So I would stop, and then random thing like, I'm in Westchester, I'll get on the bus, and for some reason there'll be a paper in the back of the bus turned to something with the African burial ground. I literally was like, it's true when you see those scary things where that stuff falling. I literally balled it up, threw it in the garbage, and put it to the side. I was like, no, no. Then I would go, get off the bus, go pick my little cigarettes up before I get home. Bam! Another article, African burial ground. I get home. I'm not looking at the news. I'm looking at anything but the news. And bam! African burial ground. I was like, holy fuck. So, I thought this story was too long for this short little walk. Because the fight ain't over, honey. They did get back in the ground. But it wasn't that easy. And they finally stopped asking, well, who are you and why do you care? And they started getting busy. They started getting busy. Well, that's after I made some big moves, which included even going down to Maryland. But maybe I'll tell y'all that tomorrow. Whew, we walked all this week. All this week. We did it, y'all. Whew. They woke me up at 2 o'clock this morning, so I'm a little on the tired side. And I didn't go back to sleep. Yeah, so they woke me up at 2 o'clock this morning. So, I see it take energy to sing. Whew. I thank you. I love you for walking with me. For being my friend. For holding us up. This is our 6th month and we're walking. I hope to remember to tell you the rest of the African burial ground tomorrow. Not tomorrow. We don't walk on Sunday. I just did that one makeup Sunday. But that's it. I won't see you guys until Monday. So YouTube, thanks for walking with me. Hey, like, comment, share. Subscribe, YouTube. Like and subscribe. Share. Comment, Facebook. Thanks. See you Monday.